Hey everyone, let's say you want to buy a Corvette. So you go on the internet, you look through the forums, and you find there's sort of three bits of conventional wisdom. The first one is, don't buy a C4. That's the fourth generation, built from 1984 through 1996. They're the least valuable, the least desired. They're in kind of a weird zone where they're not old enough to be considered classics, but they're also not new enough to be really high performance. The second bit of conventional wisdom is, if you're going to buy a C4, buy a late one, not an early one. The early ones have poor build quality, they are slow, they have weird interiors. The later ones are much better. They're built better, they have powerful engines, the interior is redesigned. But, this is the third bit, right? If you're going to buy an early C4, whatever you do, don't buy one with the Doug Nash 4+3 manual transmission. Everyone says they're terrible. They're unreliable, they're hard to get parts for, they don't drive well, all that stuff. So, let me turn the camera around here and show you. This is my C4. It's an early C4 with a Doug Nash 4+3 manual transmission. In other words, it's the worst one you can buy. And this one is not great. That said, I'm going to do three things with it. I have a bit of a challenge this year. This car has been sitting in my garage for about 4 years. I've done a little bit with it, but not too much. It's always been one of those, yeah, I'll get to it one day projects. But this year, I'm going to do three things. The first one is I'm going to restore it. I'm not going to try to make it perfect, but it needs to be nice. It needs to be roadworthy, safe and fun to drive. Something I'm comfortable driving anywhere, showing off, etc. Second thing, I'm going to race it. Not like real road racing, performance stuff, right? I want to do three things. I want to do like a track day, an autocross, a drag race, stuff like that. A chance to stretch its legs a bit and exercise it as a sports car. Third thing, I want to take a road trip. I want to take a road trip of at least 2,000 miles. And I want to do all those things this year. As I record this, it's January 1st. That means I have 364 days left. And I'm going to do all those things with the help of my late brother. And I realize that sounds weird, but I'll explain a little bit later. So let's get back to the car. So this is my 1988 Corvette C4. And your first question is probably, why have a C4? Or why have a Corvette even? Well, I'll tell you. When I was a teenager, these were the cars that really grabbed my attention. And any car person will tell you, you tend to be drawn to cars that appealed to you as a teenager. If it was a poster on your wall, a car you saw at a car dealership or on the street that you really wanted, and of course there's no way you could get it as a teenager, that's what appeals to you as an adult. At the time, so let's see, this is in 1988. This car MSRP was about $35,000. This is a pretty high-end car. Some of them were cheaper than that. But this particular car sold for about $35,000 new in 1988. Inflation adjusted, that's about $96,000 in today's money. Now, like I said, C4s are not super popular, and that means they're relatively cheap. And so this one I paid about $7,500 for. Now, I did want a project, and I got one. There's a lot of stuff wrong with this car. and I'll talk about that in another video. Today I just sort of want to talk about big picture stuff. So why a 1988? Well, first off, the C4 design evolved over the course of production. No 2 years are really the same. Each one has upgrades. And 1988 had some pretty significant changes. The big ones are that the front suspension was redesigned, so it's got better handling. The front rear suspension had some changes too, but basically the front suspension got redesigned to improve handling. It has better electrical connections. All the electrical connections on the vehicle are upgraded for 1988. And 88 is the last year, well, 89 as well, but 88, 89 are the last year that really reflect the designer's original intention for the car. In 1989, it got a new manual transmission and different seats. And then in 1990, you get a different interior. And then in 1991, you get a different exterior. And from 1991 through the end of production, you have other changes, different engines, etc. And, you know, fundamentally, the car is still a C4, obviously, but it's not what was originally intended by the designers. It changed to reflect improving technology, marketplace demands, etc. But this really is it. When this thing was designed in the early 80s, this is what they intended. So why this particular car? Well, this is a 35th anniversary edition. So the Corvette was announced, or originally went on sale, I should say, in 1953. 1983 would have been the 30th anniversary, but there was no Corvette for 1983. They were switching over from the C3 to the C4. So the next big anniversary was 1988, and they decided to do a special edition. And that's what this is. It is relatively rare. You still see these pretty regularly. They built about 2,000 of them. They all have numbers. This one, let me look, is number 1634. Somewhat unusual, and you can actually see it there. This is one with a manual transmission. Of the 35th anniversary cars, they built about 200 of these. So I know Corvette people are always like, oh, this is a rare configuration, you know, for trivial things, but this is actually kind of vaguely rare. And the design appealed to me. I like how it looks. I mean, this one's pretty rough, but it's all here and it's all fixable. And this anniversary edition has some nice things. Enough that I'm gonna have to check my list here. So let's see. In 1988, well, I should say, this is, like I said, this is a 35th anniversary edition. So what do you get with that? You get this special paint. It's white wheels with a black top, or roof, I should say. So in Chevrolet speak, you get special paint, exterior and interior ornamentation. Those are things like the special seat covers with the 35th anniversary logo, the white steering wheel, white trim generally. The exterior ornamentation are things like these 35th anniversary badges. You get power sport seats, automatic air conditioning, illuminated vanity mirrors, the Bose stereo, heated backlight and mirrors, the transparent roof panel, and you get the Z52 sport handling package. So that takes a minute to explain. You may have heard, if you know Corvettes, about the Z51. That still exists as an option. It's basically, if you take the base model Corvette and you add things these days, if you add things like better suspension, better brakes, etc., that's the Z51 package. It was the same situation back in the C4 days, starting in 1984. There was the base model that had essentially comfort suspension, and then the Z51, which had very stiff race suspension and bigger brakes, etc. Z52 doesn't really exist anymore, and it sort of split the difference between the two. It's basically intended for spirited road driving as opposed to track driving. So here's what the Z52 got you. It got you 17-inch wheels. By the way, these white wheels are unique to the 35th anniversary edition. Bigger brakes, a radiator boost fan, Bilstein shock absorbers, a heavy-duty radiator, a radiator boost fan, an engine oil cooler, a transmission cooler, a power steering pump cooler, faster ratio steering, a larger front stabilizer bar, and some frame stiffeners. Yeah, so essentially, if you buy a 35th anniversary C4, you get everything. The only real options at that point are things like an automatic transmission, which this does not have, extra tops, like you can get a painted top instead of the transparent one, and a few other things like that. But in general, this is a loaded car, which is nice. And like I said, it has what you want for the type of driving I want to do, right? I want to do track days, but I don't want a race car. I want to take it on road trips, so it needs to be comfortable, right? It's the right mix of things. And like I said, the style of it appeals to me. All right, so that's the car. Here's another look at the 35th anniversary badge. Now, I do want to talk about what I said about my brother. So let me tell you about him. He was a couple years older than me. And as we grew up, we did not have much in common, and we fought a lot. And I realize a lot of brothers fight, but we really fought. And we were very different people. By the time we came of age, I graduated high school and went off to college. He had dropped out of high school. And he had a lot of challenges in his life. He was the sort of person who was very smart, but had a difficult time dealing with people. And he also had some addictive behaviors. Nevertheless, we went our own ways and were largely out of touch for quite a few years. And then, let's see. Maybe 10, 12 years ago-ish at this point, our parents, who had obviously gotten older, developed some serious health problems. Our father died, and then our mother became sick and needed a bunch of long-term care that my brother and I essentially were responsible for. And so we were sort of forced to work together on that. And that brought us back together. And I think us being older and having some common experiences, and also recognizing our common interests. We had always both had a common interest in mechanical things. Like we both like motorcycles, we both like cars. we started growing closer together is probably the best way to put it. Like, and then our mother died. And then as things were sort of looking up in our relationship, my brother died suddenly. And that's been about 5 years ago, a little over 5 years ago now. And I really miss him. You know, as frustrating as he was to deal with a lot of the time, I wish he was back, right? I would put up with it. And what's frustrating about it is we were essentially on the mend. And I feel like had he lived longer, we would have gotten to the point where we would have started doing fun things together. I don't know exactly what, but something, right? Probably relating to cars or motorcycles or something like that. So I recently found myself thinking, you know what, I want to do the sort of project that we would have done together. And I kind of want to do it with him, at least in spirit. And I think that's possible. So when he died, I got a couple things. I inherited his motorcycle and a few other personal effects, but I also got this. My brother was a mechanic for a few years, and then an auto parts person at a car dealership for a few years. He also sold cars for a while. That's a different story. But he was a car mechanic, basically. And these are his tools and his toolbox. And I haven't really done anything with it, right? It's all pretty much the way he left it. Like when I take a tool out of it to do something with, I always put it back in the same spot. And it always feels like I'm borrowing stuff from him. And so that gave me the idea, you know, what I really want to do is finish restoring the Corvette and do stuff with it that he would appreciate. So that's going to be our project together, Eric and I. That's his name, Eric. So he's going to help me through, you know, my ability to, you know, more or less channel his expertise and his tools. And I'm going to supply the labor and some of my expertise. And we're going to work on this car together. I always liked Corvettes as a kid. And he liked them too, actually. We both had C7 Corvettes at various times. So that's what we're going to do, right? We're going to restore the car. And then he was a big fan of racing. So we're going to do some performance driving with it. And he always told me that he wanted to move to the Mountain West, like Colorado, Utah, New Mexico, places like that. So we're going to take a road trip, and we're going to, after we restore the car, we're going to take this road trip through Utah and Colorado and New Mexico and stuff. And, you know, just enjoy the fruit of our labor together. And what I'm hoping to get out of this, isn't so much, like, I'm not bringing him back to life or anything, but I want to feel like we've had that experience together and feel like there's not something hanging over us. Like I want to say goodbye to him in a way that feels complete, right? Like I want to do those things and have a good time with him and then move on. Like I want this to be my tool chest. It used to be Eric's, but I want it to be mine. And at the end of it, it's going to be mine. Here you can see the stickers. So that's the project. Like I said, I'm giving myself a year. Today is January 1st. I want to finish by the end of the year, so I have 364 days left. Next video, I think what I'm going to do is just walk through the car and tell you all the work that has been done on it and all the things that still need to be done, and sort of outline a plan for the restoration. So that's it. If this sounds appealing to you, please subscribe. I want to do other car things on this channel too, but this is going to be my major focus this year. All right, take care.